Hello everyone, Professor T is back. Today we are going to study about price elasticity of demand, PED as you would know. And without any further ado, let's get started. Oh wait, what? Not this. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand what price elasticity of demand is. And here I have it written for you. So price elasticity of demand is responsiveness of quantity demanded to the change in price. So as the price changes, how responsive is the demand? I mean, does the demand change by a lot? Does the demand change by just a bit? How much does it change? That's basically price elasticity of demand. It determines how elastic the demand is. Alright, so basically, as in the specification, you would say we need to understand what price elasticity of demand is. We need to be able to draw demand curves of different elasticities, which I'll just explain in a moment. Evaluate the importance of price elasticity of demand for consumers and producers. So, by covering all of this, we'll finish the topic of demand. So, if we just go back to say, this one. Okay, we saw this how to construct a demand curve. Now we are going to study price elasticity of demand. Where is it? I think I also told you the law of demand, which is the inverse relationship between price of a good and demand. So if price rises, the demand decreases. If demand decreases, the price if so if price decreases, the demand increases. If price increases, the demand decreases. That's it. Now, where is the price elasticity, man? Yeah, here it is. So, right. So, price elasticity, when the price changes, demand for a normal good will also change. Yeah. The extent to which demand changes will depend upon its price elasticity of demand, which I just told you. When price changes, some goods see a big change in demand, others see a small change. I'll tell you which ones see a bigger change and which ones see a smaller change. Well, I could just tell you now. So, let's see. So, if you use some common sense, you can easily understand that the change in demand for the products will be less if they are, let's say, necessities. For example, bread, right? There are no substitutes to it. You need bread if you want to eat it, right? So what will happen is, even if price of bread rises, the relative change in demand for it would be less, very less. Okay, and for, let's say, any luxurious item, let's say, let's say you could say laptops. So let's say for a price of a particular laptop rises, the demand for the price of a laptop for a particular company rises, the demand for it will decrease by quite a bit. Not like less in case of bread, but it will decrease by quite a lot. Yeah. So now let's say, well, if it's Apple, then it's a different story because you just buy the same phone even if the features are same. All right. Now, so goods that see a more than a proportional change in demand if price changes are called price elastic. So I mean, so if there is a large change to the proportional change in demand, they are price elastic. If there is a less change, as in case of bread, it's price inelastic. And in case of laptops, it's price elastic. And goods that see a proportional change in demand if price changes are said to have unitary elasticity. So if the percentage change in price is met by the percentage change in demand, the same percentage in demand, it's known to be unitary elastic. It will be better explained through the diagram, so just don't worry. So there are a number of factors that affect PED. I hope you have intuitively understood what PED means. So the factors that affect it are the availability of substitutes. So the closer the substitutes and the more that are available, the higher the price elasticity of demand. First of all, yeah. So imagine again. I think I should take the simplest example of Coke and Pepsi. So they are more or less substitutes, right? So now what will happen is, if you increase the price of Coke, now since they are substitutes, people will see, oh, the price of Pepsi is less, so why not just buy it? We'll just buy Pepsi. We don't need Coke. Right. We would say that Coke is price elastic. Coke has a price elastic demand. And same for Pepsi, because if price of Pepsi increases, people will say, okay, we'll buy Coke, do whatever you want. So these are called price elastic goods. Now the price of competitor goods. If the price of goods in competition with the product increase, this will affect demand and price elasticity of demand. So okay, that's the same thing which I just said. It's very similar to that. Now time. The longer the time period, the higher the price elasticity of demand. Given more time, other firms will have the ability to produce similar products and customers will have more chance of adapting their buying habits. Well, this is just very self-explanatory. Well, if you give them more time, there will be increase in the number of substitutes because you have more time, so firms can produce similar goods in that time, right? Now branding. Okay, well, branding is just self-explanatory. You can just read it. I'm not even going to explain it. It's not worth the time because I'm trying to save your time by explaining you the concepts in the simplest terms possible. Now, let's come to the topic, like how to construct demands, how to construct the graphs, and how to calculate this PED. So, I just explained you here. Yeah. Inelastic demand, not very responsive. Elastic demand, very responsive to the change in price. Now, before we come to the calculations, I just want you to understand how the graphs are constructed. So, okay, as we know, like for the demand curves, we have price on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis. Now, if the demand is price inelastic, we say it's not responsive, right? Not very responsive to the quantity. So the demand is not responsive to the change in price. Now this is a perfectly inelastic demand. You see the demand remains the same regardless of the price. So this is perfectly inelastic. A perfectly inelastic product will have a PED coefficient of 0. Now what is meant by PED coefficient? So basically we calculate PED coefficient by change in quantity over change in price. Percentage change in quantity over percentage change in price. Remember that, percentage change in quantity over percentage change in price. Now if you come back to this graph, we see, let's take any 2 points on this graph, right? Now we'll see percentage change in quantity remains the same, right? Because it's a straight line. However, the percentage change in price will be what do you say, will be varying. So what will happen is we'll get a PED coefficient. I don't think it would be 0. It should go infinity. I think if I just go back to the whiteboard. Where is it? So if we have percentage change here. Where is the infinity one? Yeah. Price elastic. Right. So since the percentage change in quantity is 0, well, 0 will be on the numerator and anything divided by 0 is 0, so we'll have a coefficient of 0. If a price was to change, the quantity demanded would not be affected, as is just shown in the graph. In theory, the firm could charge as high a price as it wanted. Perfectly inelastic demand is extremely rare in practice, but in theory, firm could charge as high a price as they want because the demand would be same for any price. Now, I just want to make sure that you guys understand this. For example, to calculate the PED, the formula is written here. So this is an example. If a rise in price of 10% leads to a fall in demand of 5%, then we have 5 upon 10 is equal to 0.5. This is your PED. Now what we say is we don't consider the negative or positive signs. So what we say is when we are saying, let's say PED is greater than 1, it could be greater than -1 as well. So like in that case, -2 is greater than -1 because we don't consider the signs. So what we just say is we just see that is the number greater than 1 or is the number greater than smaller than 1 regardless of the sign. You don't consider the signs. And the reason is very simple. So what happens is, let's say, so what think it this way. So when you are increasing the price, the demand is falling, right? So the demand will be negative, right? And so whenever you do the calculation, you'll get a negative answer. But let's say in reality, if they were positives, which doesn't happen due to the law of demand, because law of demand makes sure that the relationship is inverse, right? So either the numerator or the denominator would always be negative. So in reality, we can almost never have a positive answer. So as you can see, even here, this one has a price elasticity between 0 and -1. This one has a price elasticity between -1 and infinity, and this has infinity. So we just never consider the signs. That's it. That's all you need to understand. Now, what happens? So this is price inelastic. Now you see, price inelastic means demand is very less responsive. So as you can see, the price changes, but the demand only changes by a bit. If the price was to change, the quantity demanded would change by lesser amount, as it's written here. Therefore, a firm would look to raise price. Well, why not? So they see that, well, we can increase the price and the change in demand would be very less. So the change in price would compensate for it. As a result, they'll get a higher revenue. Let me give you an example. I have this example prepared on the whiteboard. So this image is from tutor to you. Now, if you see, you know what, it will be easier. So if the coefficient of PED is greater than 1 in inelastic demand, but we don't consider the signs, as I just told you. Now, what? Let me just give numbers here, right? So let's just call this 30. Oh, I need the pen. Wait. Okay. Right. So let's just call this 30. Right. Now let's call this 60. Well, this one is at least double this if the graph was to scale. Now let's call this 3 and let's call this 4. So, well, this was your original price, and it's written here increase revenue from selling at a higher price. So what do they mean by this? Now here you see the change in price was 30, right? And the quantity, let's say, was 3. So here we would have got 30 times 3 is 90, and here we get 60 times 3 is 180, right? And 180 is twice the 90, right? Now, they say that there will be lost revenue from the contraction in quantity sold. Well, as we know, when the price increased, the quantity demanded decreased, right? That's what happens. But it was compensated by this fact that there was an increased revenue from this. So now let's say, well, if on price 1 the quantity demanded was 4. So let's say if the quantity demanded was 4 on price P2, which is 60 as well, then we would have 60 times 4, which is 420. 240. Sorry, 240. Now, well, 240, and well, we had some loss here, but well, it was compensated by this fact, increased revenue from selling at a higher price. Now, so this is the graph for per price inelastic. Well, very little change. So you could remember this diagram by see, if it's inelastic, the diagram looks like an eye. This looks like an eye. This is perfectly inelastic. Well, this is price inelastic. So it's not perfectly inelastic, but so it looks closer to an eye than to a horizontal line. As you see here, this is price elastic. It's more like a horizontal line. And a price elastic product will have a PED coefficient between -1 and infinity. So how did infinity come from? So here if you see, the change in price is 0. So the denominator is 0 and the demand is varying. So the numerator will be a number. But we know that division by 0 is undefined, but in economics we call it to be infinite. So the quantity demand would be infinity. In theory, the firm could not increase price as there would be no demand. That's all you needed to understand, I believe. Well, this is one key point that you should read. So if a good is price elastic, then producers should lower revenue. This will lead to a rise in demand and a rise in revenue. Well, this is very self-explanatory. Well, we just saw it in the if a good is price elastic, we mean that demand is very responsive, the producer should lower price. Because if it's very responsive, when you lower price, the demand will increase. As a result, you will have more chances of getting more revenue. Producers will have to ensure that unit costs are low enough to cover selling price, which is very self-explanatory, and consumers will benefit from lower prices. Yeah, of course, consumers want lower prices, right? There is no questioning about that. And if a good is priced inelastic, then producers should raise price because the demand is not gonna change by a lot. So this will lead to a fall in demand, but a rise in revenue. Sure, as we saw in this diagram, it's compensated. And producers will be able to make higher profits despite selling less. Consumers will have to pay higher prices. And so yeah, this one you could just read and yeah, okay, this is nothing. So just this is the last slide which we should cover, and we are done with this topic. So producers will importance of price elasticity for producers and consumers. So this is the third thing in the specification. And now producers will spend time and money trying to develop products that are price inelastic. This might be through branding, advertising, or creating a unique select point, making the product stand out from the competition. Well, of course, so they want to make sure that there are no substitutes available for the product. So that's why they'll try to create a unique product. Consumers, for example, you see that Elon Musk is making electric cars, right? Well, say if electric cars ever like become the fashion in some time, there will be almost no substitute for it, right? Because in theory, no one can produce electric cars as good as Elon Musk. Now, consumers will have less options available if goods are price inelastic. Yeah, this is a problem for consumers. So, if the goods are price inelastic, what will happen is that consumers will have very less variety. And what government will do is, government will try to create competition in order to stop firms from raising price. Because what would happen is, well, the firms would keep on increasing price, right? They won't stop, and as a result, like people won't be able to buy. Many people might not be able to buy products, and as a result, like they will not have the necessities for survival. So what government will do is they'll create competition, and as there will be competition, when firms compete, they try to lower prices so that consumers buy from them. Over time, new producers will enter markets which will increase competition, as I just explained. However, firms with a price elastic good will try to maintain this advantage over a period of time. Well, this is not very difficult to understand. So by this, we come to the end. Yeah. And well, I think you should have understood all the concepts. If you have not understood concept, like you can always message me on Instagram. I'll leave the link in the description. I would be happy to personally explain it to you. And what the thing is, you can even write it in the comments. Well, I'll answer all the comments because at this point of time I don't have many subscribers, so I can easily do that. And yeah, of course, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video. And the next video will be covering supply. Thank you very much. And if you think you learned something from this video, do consider subscribing. Alright guys, see you later.